That's great, such a green wave. Too bad. Now it's interrupted.
What kind of technical matters are the reason for that? Can someone explain that to me?
I can explain that to you. I'm your traffic prof, and I've trained traffic engineers for many years. Look out!
Driver is only aware of red, yellow, green. But to understand why there are sometimes breaks in the green wave, we have to look at the whole system. To make sure that a vehicle platoon which has got green always gets green on every junction or crossing. When planning a green wave, the entire section of the street has to be considered. Let's take a look at such a section.
Here we see such a section from A to B from a bird's eye view in a survey map. We can also see the stop lines at the junction and crossings. In a technical language we say intersections. And at the same time, this survey map is also part of a path time diagram. You know that from school. From left to right, a vehicle platoon goes along the path.
Now let's take a look at what happens at the individual traffic signal system. A signal program is running, which a traffic engineer presents as a signal timing plan.
The signal timing plan specifies the time sequence of the individual signals. What are these signals? First of all, a green signal. It should appear until the vehicle platoon which has accumulated in front of the signal system has drained. As everyone knows, more signals appear on most signal systems. Of course, the red signal and the yellow signal and, which many people are not aware of, red and yellow. Yellow and red and yellow are the transition signals. Then it usually starts all over again. The time of a single sequence of these signals is called the circle time.
Now let's simulate the journey of this vehicle platoon over the street section, or rather the path time diagram. At first, we are only interested in the green signals.
At the first traffic signal system, the vehicle platoon receives green. Now it moves along the street section. You can show it in the path time diagram. And wherever the platoon reaches a signal system, it should be given green. This is what the driver wants, and we want to fulfill his wish.
By the way, a green wave should not only please the driver, but also the environment. In fact, that's the main reason why you realize something like this. Less braking and less acceleration means less noise, less exhaust emissions, and less fuel.
In our path time diagram, we now see how a vehicle platoon moves on the street section and that it gets green at every traffic signal system. We can also deduce the speed with which the platoon moves along the section, the so-called progression speed. The steeper the so-called green band appears or is created in the path time diagram, the faster the platoon moves. Usually we select a speed of 40 to 50 kilometers per hour. We also recognize that each green time is part of a signal timing plan of the respective signal system, in which there are, of course, also red and transition signals and, of course, a circle time. The circle time must be the same at each installation. This is the only way to make sure that the green time in each round starts exactly when a vehicle platoon approaches the traffic signal system.
Now you say, that's easy. What is the problem? Why, in reality, there are always places where the green times are not coordinated and the vehicle platoon must stop? First of all, the problem is the opposite direction. The signal systems for this platoon must also be coordinated. Let us take a look how at a traffic signal system the green signals usually follow one another.
It's turning green and traffic on the main street starts to flow. But it doesn't just flow in one direction. As you can see, on the main street direction and opposite direction I usually get green at the same time. The reason for this is that these flows do not interfere with each other and therefore can flow at the same time. On the side stream, of course, it's the same. However, if traffic on the side street gets green, the traffic on the main street must be stopped. That means there a red signal must be given. The blocking period must last until the traffic on the side street has drained. Otherwise, there will be traffic congestion. In other words, during the given duration of the circle time, we cannot give any length of green time to direction and opposite direction of the main flow. We have to introduce sufficiently long red times to be able to allow the traffic on the side street to drain. Now let's plan the green wave of the opposite direction in our path time diagram.
So it is now a question of coordinating the green times in the opposite direction, from B to A. In our path time diagram, we see the stop lines in front of the traffic signal system in the opposite direction, and already suggestions for the corresponding signal timing plans. Of course, these signal timing plans must all have the same circle time in order to enable the signal timing of all installations to be coordinated in the opposite direction. We have seen that the green times of directional and counter-directional flows should take place approximately simultaneously. So let the green signal light up at the first intersection of the opposite direction at the same time as in the previously considered direction, and that of course also a circulation earlier. We want to make things right for motorists and nature and coordinate the green times. Of course, this can be realized. All you have to do is to run the vehicle platoon with the progression speed along the path time diagram from B to A. And every time the platoon reaches the next signal system, a green signal is provided in this corresponding signal program.
Well, there you go then, you say. But it's the little things that cause big problems. Let's take a closer look at the result.
Is it guaranteed that the green times of direction and opposite direction always take place at the same time, how it should be? This is the case at some intersections, at some so gentle, and at one not at all. Is that a problem? If green signal on the main street is done together in both directions, this is not a problem. There is still enough time left in the circulation during which the traffic on the main street is blocked and the traffic of the side street can drain. If the green times from the direction and the opposite direction of the main street are offset to each other, the time during which both directions are blocked at the same time is reduced. At intersection number 4, for instance, it's only 19 seconds. Only in this short period of time, the traffic of the side street can flow. If during this time the traffic jammed at red in the side street can drain, it is all right. If not, there will be traffic congestion on the side street. At junction number 3, the green time of the direction follows directly the green time of the opposite direction. After that, the circle time has finished and the next circle starts. There is no time left when traffic on the main street in both directions is blocked, and therefore no time in which any traffic from the side street could flow. In this case, you have to turn the side street into a one-way street. The driver doesn't like that. He doesn't understand why it has to be like this. And maybe the side street is not a side street, but also a main street in which a traffic signal system might even be coordinated. Then you have no choice. You must move the green time so that direction and opposite direction get green at the same time. And then the following happens. In one direction, the coordination is perfect. In the opposite direction, the vehicle platoon runs up to a red signal.
But why is such a thing sometimes necessary? Why are green times sometimes offset from direction and opposite direction when a green band is inserted into the path time diagram? Let's take a look at that.
What do we see? The points of intersection at which the green times of direction and opposite direction always take place at the same time, always have the same so-called distance between green band points of intersections from each other. This distance depends on the slope of the green bands. It ultimately depends on the progression speed. You can calculate the distance and vary it depending on the progression speed, but however you choose the speed, there is always such a uniform distance between green band points of intersection. Unfortunately, the junctions in our historical grown street networks do not have uniform distances. For instance, junction number 3. And unfortunately, sometimes at a junction on the section, which is not a green band point of intersection, the green time has to be moved so that the direction and the opposite direction on the main street can be blocked at the same time in order to be able to give a green signal to the side street so that this traffic can also drain. But that means an interruption of coordination on the main street, at least in one direction.
I think it has now become clear why a green wave does not always work and the coordination is not always possible. In summary, the reason is that, for geometric reasons, equal intersection distances would be necessary to be able to give green to vehicle platoon in the direction and in the opposite direction whenever it reaches the traffic signal system. But these are not present in reality. Of course, there are ways to optimize the whole system by optimizing the sequence of the individual traffic signal systems or varying the progression speed. This makes it possible to create a coordination in such a way that there are as few breaks as possible, and that also enables cyclists and public transport to pass through without stopping. This requires many iterations. You can also use apps that communicate with the system and tell the driver what speed must be selected to get green at the nearest intersection. Using such tools, green times can also be extended or shortened depending on traffic volume. Variation of the circle time to a limited extent is also possible. Finally, traffic flows on the road network can also be predicted by means of traffic models, and on this basis, green waves can be generated which allow most vehicles to traffic continuously at a certain time interval. You see, it's not easy to design green waves. It takes compromises. And sometimes it doesn't work without breaks in coordination.
So that would be settled. Do you have some other questions concerning traffic management? Please look in my channel. Maybe there's something new.